Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video. So you join me as I'm just going to change the spark plugs on my Mini F56. So it's the JCW version. So I've done this video before on a Cooper S, but I want to talk through some of the things I've learned since about the spark plugs, changing them. And it's a super quick, easy process. A little bit more involved than some previous Minis, but still not a complicated process at all. So first of all, we'll start off talking through the tools and spark plugs themselves. Then we'll move on to actually changing them. Okay, so let's first of all talk about what you're going to need. So you can see we've got 4 spark plugs, so that's all you need for this engine. Now I'll put the actual spark plugs I'm using on the screen, so you no longer have to get these from Mini. They used to be a Mini only item to get the NGK ones. However, now the likes of Orange Performance and a few other companies actually can supply these rather than having to go through Mini, so you get better pricing and everything else. So the one thing I just wanted to point out with these spark plugs that everyone questioned in the last video is that you don't actually gap these. They come gapped from factory, and if you look here on the box, it specifically says do not adjust the gapping on them. So you can see there it shows exactly what you need to do. So it says do not gap them. So I just wanted that to be really clear. So what else do you need? So if you're like me and you're using a Halfords tool set, you don't actually get the spark plug socket for these particular spark plugs. So if you see here, it's sort of a jagged hex or bi-hex type shape. So what you need, so I got this one from Laser, and it's a 3/8 14mm bi-hex spark plug socket. So you need to make sure you get that, because it's different to other spark plugs on other cars, and you don't get that in the Halfords set. So just make sure you buy that. Then we also need an E8, and that's to actually get the coils off the top of the spark tube, so they're actually bolted down. So we'll show you that on the car. Get your 4 spark plugs, then obviously an extension bar and your 3/8 socket to actually do them up. So let's jump into the engine bay and get the old ones out and the new ones. Okay, so we're in the engine bay now. First of all, we've got to get to the spark plugs. So lift this off, grab it firmly from the front, and then at the back, lift that off, and you've just got these rubber bungs that sit on each of these little nodules here. So let's move that out of the way. Next, we've got here the 4 coils for your spark plugs. So it's very similar to the Cooper S. In terms of this process, so that one seems a little bit loose. I wonder if someone's been in here before. And what we need is an E8 hex to get this bolt off here. So you can see that one's already really loose. And I've certainly not changed these plugs since owning the car. So you can see there, we get that out, and then we should be able to pop. There you go, pop that out. Now that hex bolt doesn't come out, so you've got no risk of losing that. Then we've got the spark plug itself in the spark plug tube, just in there. So what we need to do, we've got our socket, our hex socket, put it on an extension bar and check it's long enough. Now there's like a little rubber sort of O-ring in there that grips on to the top of the spark plug, so you have to push it in and give it a twist. Let's get our socket, put it to undo. Let's get that out. So it's a very similar process to changing spark plugs on most cars. It's just making sure you know where it is and how to get to them. Some you don't have coils like this, you literally have the HT leads that you pop off to get it out. It just depends on the car that you're working on at the time. So let's get that one out, and we can see what state the old ones are. So I'm not sure when these were last changed. So I've only got limited service history with the car because it was a Cat S. So there's some paperwork, but not a lot. Certainly nothing detailing when the spark plugs came out. So I think it takes quite a while. There's quite a lot of thread. There we go. So you can see, let's do a bit of a comparison. These are the new one, these are the old ones, and you can see they're really yucky. Let's see what brand they are. So you can see, for anyone that knows where F56 is, they come with 2 from the factory. One's the NGK, one's the Champion. I'm a champion of poor quality compared to the NGK from what I've been reading up. So this would explain why, since I've had my car mapped, the car breaks up a little bit at the top. They're looking a bit worn, a bit old, so I reckon these haven't been changed in a while. So I think it's a good job now. I managed to get hold of a set of these from Orange. I think I probably had the last set that they had in stock. But also try having a chat with that Ollie, see if you can get any more stock in if you are trying to do this, because he always does great prices on the parts. But you can see there's definitely in need of a change of spark plug. All we need to do is insert these in, do them up hand tight. You don't want to over tighten them and risk threading anything. So all we do, slide our spark plug into the little rubber washer in there. Just put him in, slot him into the spark plug tube, and all you do, you'll feel when you get it right, and then just keep turning, but do not force it. You don't want to ruin your head by cross threading anything. So get that in, screwed in place by hand. It's a big long thread, so it's going to take a lot of turns to get that in there, but it will eventually go. And once it's locked in place, you'll be able to just pull that out and it will pop off that rubber. Sometimes it's a little bit stiff, trying to get it off that rubber bit. Okay, so that's in. So we've got the socket, and we'll just do a last quarter of a well, not even a quarter, about a 16th of a turn, and that's it. You don't want to over tighten them. Now hopefully we pull this out, there you go, everything comes out with it. So your spark plug's in, you literally line up your bolt hole. So where does that bolt in? So that bolt's in at the back. Push that in, make sure that connects with the top of the spark plug, and then you can do this up by hand to start with. And what I'll do on the screen as well is I'll make sure I put up the torque settings for your spark plugs, so that you can get the exact right one in with a torque wrench if that's your bag. Next we'll work our way along all of these, and it's exactly the same process. So we'll get the extension bar onto this and get this one out, and it's nice to get fresh plugs in, especially now seeing the state of the ones that are coming out. So especially now this is tuned, not got it on dyno yet, but it's going to be 300 plus brake horsepower. It definitely is going to need those fresh spark plugs. So it had an oil change by Mills's Autos, so I'm not worried about the oil or any of the fluids, but the one thing we didn't change was the spark plugs, so I'm glad we're doing that now. Let's get that second one out. So that seemed really loose from the start. So I was just checking to see whether it actually... Yeah, it's definitely hooked on. I didn't know whether we were just spinning on the rubber. It does seem to be coming out. Okay, worst case, if that does happen and it does get stuck in on your spark plug as you're putting the spark plug back in, for example, you can get some long nose pliers in, so you should be able to get that out. Normally works if you pull it to the side and pull up. That's not quite working in this case. That's okay, these things happen. So we'll get that hopefully out soon. There we go. I'm just worried that there might be some cross threading, but there's not. That looks good. You can see there, the threads are all good. So it's simply a case of it was just a bit wobbly on its way out. So again, we'll get that fresh spark plug in, drop the ratchet off, slot that white ending to there, get that straight in. And remember, do it all by hand. It should be really easy to screw in those first few. You don't want to be forcing that in and cross-threading your head. So again, give it a wobble. Yeah, it's definitely in. So do that up as much as you can by hand, and then we'll just finish it off with the ratchet. I think for this side I might need the longer extension bar, but that's fine. I'll use this one for now, so my knuckles are catching on this. So that's pretty tight. So ensure your ratchet's on do up. and then just get that again, just go gently with the ratchet. There's not, there you go, and then just give it 1 little 16th. Once it feels tight, 1 little 16th is what the box is saying is enough. There we go, and that's out. So again, let's drop that in there. Sure our bolt's lined up at the back. Sure that's touching the top. And again, let's get that done up. Okay, so that's 2 spark plugs done now. What I'm going to do is carry on filming for the last 2, just to show you it's exactly the same process, but I'll speed the footage up a bit so you're not going to watch the same thing 4 times. Okay, so that was the last spark plug in. So let's get the last coil back on. Start to do that screw up by hand. And that bolt, sorry. And then we'll finish it off using this, and all this does just ties it down, keeps it in place, it doesn't pop off. That's that done, that done, that done, and that done up. So we've got our four spark plugs out. Make sure this bit of foam is back in place. They're all done, so we're happy with that. So let's now clear the engine bay of all our tools and bits, then we'll get the engine cover back on. Okay, so before we put the engine cover back on, I'm just going to go and start the car just to make sure it's running correctly and that we haven't not quite connected or disconnected something we shouldn't have. So let's go and test the car, and then we'll come back to you. Okay, so we've tested everything now, so let's get the engine cover back on. So all we do, line up, there's like little rubber bungs here, just go onto these little nodules around the top of the engine. So let's get those all back in place. That's the engine cover on. We've tested the engine, it all works perfectly. So that's the install done. Well, that's the install done. Hopefully you found that useful. If you did, please hit that like button, it really helps the channel. And if you want notifications, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll get alerts every time we upload new content for the F56, R53 and BRZ. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thread bits, and there's actually little holes on the bottom.